What's happening, guys? It's the Wandering Hermit here again. Um, I thought to do a short video on, what it's like living life as a solitary witch. And I want to start off by talking about the use of the term witch, because it's one of those words that holds so much meaning, both positive and negative connotations, which have been kind of grafted onto it throughout history. It's a word that's being reclaimed by the magical community. And, a lot of people talk about reclaiming the word witch for themselves and owning the word witch, actually making it something to be really proud of. Whereas beforehand it's been a derogatory term or one that denotes fear or whatever else. Um, and then, of course, there's the discussions going on about whether or not you can be called a witch if you are of a particular um, cultural inclination, whether or not you can call yourself a witch if you practice magic or not, and whether or not you can call yourself a witch if you're male or female. Because I've had a couple of funny looks from people when I've come out and said, well, yeah, you know what, I class myself as a witch. They'll say, well, you can't be a witch. You're a guy. You can't, guys can't be witches. Now, a few people have written about the difference between witches as female magicians or magical practitioners, and or, other terms for male practitioners to create that distinction. Personally, I don't think that there should be a gender specific distinction between whether you're a male or female magician. That doesn't matter to me. Um, but I personally think that no other word really kind of describes or accurately describes a practitioner of the northern magical traditions than the word witch. Because witch, if you look at the various etymological roots of the word witch, its primary meaning is that of wise one or one who knows. Now, some people don't like using it for that reason because, I don't know, their own insecurities might tell them that to use a word meaning one who knows is a little bit pretentious or a little bit presumptuous or a little bit self-centered or whatever. But it's one who knows spirit. It's one who has met spirit and has been introduced to the realms beyond this one. It can, derive from the word weird, which is the Old Norse word for fate. The sort of the web of existence, the interconnectivity of all things. So one who is a witch is one who knows the weird, or who sees the weird. Words such as warlock actually originally derives from a term meaning traitor. So I don't think that accurately represents male witches. Saidman is one that some people tend to use, but if you don't practice Said, then are you really a Saidman? If you you can only be described as a Galderman if you practice Galdr, which is rune work, runic talismans and things like that. If you can't refer to yourself as a shaman necessarily unless you actually engage in indigenous shamanic practice. Now, shaman being an umbrella term can refer to any indigenous practice, whether it be Native American shamanism, whether it be indigenous Siberian shamanism, South American shamanism, African shamanism, Australian Aboriginal shamanism. There is also indigenous Western European shamanism, which I suppose is what Seder is, but I think witch as a word is the best general term that you can use for any magical practitioner, and therefore it's perfectly fine to use that for a male practitioner as well. So there you go. I identify as a witch for those reasons. Now, I call myself a solitary practitioner, but I suppose I'm not really entirely solitary because my wife is a practitioner as well. She is a witch. Um, you know, she is probably one of the best manifestors I've seen. She's the type of girl who can, you know, just sit down all relaxed on the sofa whilst I'm walking around stressing my little head off over monetary matters or anything else. She's the type of girl who says, "Don't worry about it. Things will work out. They always do." I say, "How can things work out?" And she said, "Oh, just relax. Everything's going to be fine. Everything will work out. Something will come up, and it'll help us out." And it always does. So she has some amazing power behind her. She doesn't really do spell work to make things happen, but it's just her strength of mind, her strength of character, her strength of will is her magic. She's also extremely empathic. So, you know, we do uh, spell work together on occasion. You know, we honour the Sabbats together. Um, Depending on the moon phases as well, we'll, you know, do spell work together on those, on like full moons or new moons. So I don't know whether two people working together could be regarded as a coven. I don't think it can. I think that's just a magical collaboration between two solitary practitioners. But you know, um, also a friend of mine, Paul. He's a practitioner as well. He focuses primarily on gold, you know, rune work and such things. But he too honors the Sabbats. He refers to them as the Blots, the Old Norse term. But you know, he participates in that as well. So I'm not entirely solitary, but we don't have a shared belief system. We don't have a shared practice. We each do things in our own way. So when we get together to honor the Sabbats, we each contribute a bit of our own practice into it. Um, so I'd still regard myself as solitary. A lot of other people out there are truly solitary. I know some people who might watch this video are genuinely solitary. You know, they may have only just started out and they don't know anybody else that practices magic or believes in witchcraft or anything else. Or, you know, some of you might have been doing this for a long time off your own back, your own study, you know, just going out there and finding as many books on the subject as you can, and, you know, collecting things and crafting your own spells and such things like that. But, you know, and so being a solitary practitioner can be daunting, but also has its benefits. For example, okay, I'm going to go through pros and cons. The pros, the positives of being a solitary practitioner. You can do absolutely anything you want in your practice. There's no rule book to say you can or cannot do something in your practice. I mean, let's face it, the only thing that none of us should really be doing is blood sacrifice of like people or animals or anything like that, because, you know, it's, what does that actually achieve? Some people do blood sacrifice of animals, but, you know, it's typically people who you know, hunt for their food and such things like that, and, you know, they make offerings of, you know, their catch or their kill to their chosen deities, or, you know, to the spirits they work with, and that's fine. But, you know, if you don't have that kind of lifestyle, just going out there and like getting a bird and then cutting its throat or whatever is just not the way to go. So, you know, as far as do's and don'ts go, as a solitary practitioner, there are very few don'ts. I mean, that's pretty much it. Those couple of things. But personally, I do blood offering as part of my practice. If I feel as though I need to imbue something with my essence, if I'm making a talisman, for example, you know, I will draw blood from the thumb and use that to sort of imbue it with my spirit, my essence. Some people might not do that, and that's perfectly understandable. You don't have to. You can offer saliva. You could just breathe on it. You know, just holding it and imbuing it with your intention is attuning it to your energy. So, you know, the blood sacrifice or blood offering, or, you know, isn't necessary. But some people may prefer to do it. Use of music in ritual. I never used to use music in ritual at all, but the last 6 months or so, My wife has started using music when we were honouring the Sabbaths, and I found that it really does put you into a completely new space. You don't listen to the music is there behind your frontal conscious. It worms its way into the subconscious mind, and it really does take you to places that you wouldn't normally go to. It can open you up, and it really does stimulate the imagination, depending on the music you're doing. The music you're using. I wouldn't necessarily say, yeah, we're honouring Samhain, just whack some Rihanna on, It's, I wouldn't do that, but, some tribal music, or, music that makes you feel peaceful. Preferably instrumental music, I find is best, because then you're not focusing on the words. If you listen to music with words in, your mind's going to focus on it. Whereas if it's just instrumental, then it just washes over you. And it can be quite helpful. So if you want to use music in your practice, there's nothing, in the rule book to say you can't do that. What else? Use of talismans. You can use talismans if you want. You can use any divinatory system you want. You can use any symbols you want if you're doing ceremonial magic or anything else. You've got your typical magical associations of like wands for fire and blades for air and your cups for water and your like pentacles or rocks or whatever for earth. You don't need to use those tools. If you want to represent air, you could just have a glass with nothing in it. It's full of air. Hey, there you go. That's a cup of air right there, a cup of water. You could just have a candle representing fire and a stone that you find on the ground representing earth. You can use any symbolic representations you want, so long as that is what it means to you. If the standard system doesn't work for you, that the other people use that you see in books or whatever, if that doesn't work for you, you don't need to do that. You can build your own system based upon what you're drawn to, what's significant for you. What else? I think it's just the pure freedom and the fluidity with which you can build your own spiritual practice and your own belief system. That is the best thing about being a solitary practitioner. You're not accountable to anybody else for what you do or what you believe or how you practice. It all comes from you, and it's all for you. And that's what magic should be, really, at the end of the day. Because, magic by definition is the manifestation of one's personal will into the universe. So if it's about your personal will, it should be about your personal preference as well. The cons, the negatives about being a solitary practitioner: lack of support. I think if you work as part of a group, then you've got that support network. If you have a gap in your knowledge, you can go to other people and they can fill that in for you. If you have ideas, you can bounce them off other people. Whereas as a solitary, you're kind of wrapped up in your own head, and you kind of have to create a separate personality that you can sit and have a conversation with. You're a little sock puppet. Hello, what is it you want to talk about today? It's like, well, I have this new idea of I want to do something different with the runes. I want to make specific rune talismans for certain purposes. I want to combine them in a different way that hasn't been done before. Oh yes, well that's a good idea. Well, how are you going to do that? Oh, well, I have this idea of splitting them up into elemental correspondences. Oh yes, that's a good idea. You can. There's a lot of talking to yourself involved as a solitary practitioner. I mean, even sitting on the bus on the way home from work, you're sitting there going, yeah, I wonder, would that work? If I include this? Well, that makes sense. I've never thought of that before. And you get everyone looking at you like, what the fuck is this guy talking about? There is a sense of being alone at times as a solitary practitioner. Even though that does free you up, it does make it a bit more difficult. There's no point of reference. But at the same time, if you have an idea and other people think, oh, well, that's a bit out there, it's a bit wacky, why do you want to do that? Why are you doing it that way? That can be discouraging as well. So, I don't know. Being alone can be a good thing. But, if you're the type of person that struggles to make decisions or you're constantly second guessing yourself, or you feel insecure about what you're doing, then maybe a support network would be beneficial for some people. But again, it's not necessary, because you know what? From what I've found of my own practices, I'll have just this really wacky idea. Like, I'll be doing a dedication. I'll be standing on my front lawn grounding, and I'll just be like, oh, you know what? I think I might actually just do a handstand. Why? Why do you want to do a handstand? I don't know. I think it's kind of like the Hanged Man. I want to do the whole upside down thing. I want to flip my world upside down. I want to honor the gods below as well as the gods above, that sort of thing. And a handstand just kind of represents that. So, fuck it, I'll do a handstand. Other people might say, what the hell are you doing? But it's my practice. I'll do what I want. And that's the best thing about being a solitary. Even if you are part of a support group and other people look at you and think, well, why are you doing that? Shouldn't matter. Do whatever you want. You're a magician. Do whatever you want. So, it's just sort of thoughts on being a solitary. If anyone out there is a solitary practitioner and they do feel a little bit lost, one of the best things, in fact, the greatest resource available, I think, is YouTube. Because I mentioned in my last video, the likes of Kellyanne Maddox. She is an absolutely brilliant practitioner. She incorporates so many different, fields of study and different schools of thought into her practice and into the videos and the information she shares. Whatever your inclination, there will be something in her videos that you can take away and go, you know what, actually, yeah, that benefits me, that helps. Alvine Green, she's a brilliant solitary practitioner. She just wings it. And I think that's what a lot of us need to do. We need to learn to throw away the rule book sometimes and just learn to wing it. And she's a perfect example of how to do that. Asbjørn Torvald, his work with, the Old Norse practices is just inspiring. It really is. So he's a great source of reference. There's so many others. Joey Morris, she's another solitary practitioner. Absolutely brilliant. There's so many people out there who have been doing this for a long time, and they have been going it alone, and they have been through the ups and downs of being a solitary. And if you do feel as though you're struggling getting into your practice, then just get on YouTube and just search for some of these people, or just search for whatever it is that you're unsure of. There will be something out there to kind of give you a few options of where to go. So for now, I'm going to clock off and go and get some food because I'm starving. And I can't think when I'm hungry. I turn to a right diva. So I will leave it there, and I'll see you in my next video. Until then, I wish you all much love, many blessings, and may your gods be with you. Bye for now.